Welcome, everybody, to the Bring Two Controllers podcast, episode 3. I'm Alex, and I'm joined, as always, by David. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you, Alex. Always a pleasure. As your third best friend behind your wife and twin, that feels pretty good. How you doing?
Right. So, I guess we haven't dropped that from last week. That's still a thing.
Well, I feel like our podcast should have like story arcs.
Okay. So, you know what? Where do I rank on your side then?
Well, at most third.
Okay. Yeah. You don't even know. You couldn't even name 1 and 2, but just out of principle, I'm definitely
Out
third.
of principle, yeah, at best.
Okay.
Third at best.
Okay, I see how it is.
Then I did want to, before we start, I did want to just do something because I got feedback on the last few videos because my camera quality was so crap. Some people didn't see exactly what I was showing with
your
my pawns.
your miniatures and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted to show off so this is what they look like. I think, oh yeah, that looks way better on this camera. And this is the barmaid. I think that's what everyone was looking to see. So they're just little pawns and they fit on a little go. That's it. That's all I wanted.
Right.
That's the update.
Are you happy?
Of the year.
Are you happy, people, with your barmaid? You sickos.
Hey man, who's gonna serve you the drinks?
Yeah.
You know what? How sexist I am, Alex. It doesn't even say barmaid. It says innkeeper. Okay. It says innkeeper, and the bartender is a guy.
Your mind made that switch.
Well, yeah,
that's a real good look, Dave. But you know, what are you going to do? So why? You know what happened to make your video all the better now? You know what's changed?
So I went from streaming my old cell phone to my computer to OBS to our recording app to just having a webcam and streaming straight from there. Who would have thought it would have made that big of a difference?
World of difference. Yeah. Cool, man. And you know what? That's pretty awesome. So you got a webcam. You're happy with it.
Yeah,
I am considering getting a cool piece of content creator tech myself. The Elgato Stream Deck, if you heard of it.
Oh, those look sick.
Yeah, they're $60 off right now, and
not bad.
I don't stream that much, but I do want to get back into streaming more. And it's obviously very good. So basically, if you don't know what an Elgato Stream Deck is, it's literally a physical thing with a bunch of buttons. And it's a macro pad. So you press a button and it completes a function on your computer. And that could be to play a sound effect. It could be to mute your mic. It could be to send a bunch of messages in chat, like, you know, to your viewers. But it could be something crazy. Like I was watching some videos of how detailed you can get. There are people that when they press a button, it records the last 30 seconds of gameplay.
Nice.
Puts it in, uploads it onto like a YouTube, puts it onto a tweet, puts the hashtags, sends it out, and says like I'm live. So like you're sending highlights to Twitter, so people might come across it, click it, go to your live stream after the highlight. Like that's
actually
crazy.
Really good. I'm like, you can get a Stream Deck app like on Android and stuff, and I did use that before, but the most I ever got the use out of was you know that meme sound, like the anime wow? That's like a lot of YouTubers do. I just had that on there.
Well, I'll get some sound effects for the podcast.
But I think the actual buttons are going to be so much nicer because they're like tactile, and I think there's like a shift key or something where you can like press shift and then you can change like to another layer of buttons and stuff like that.
There's folders too.
So is that what you're using your Amazon gift card for?
I found a better deal at Best Buy, so I'm gonna go to Best Buy. Yeah, and like the reviews that I've seen so far have said like, you know, yeah, you can use a phone and stuff, but basically, people have said they're just so happy with the physical device. You can do things like you can press a button and it opens up the YouTube stream dashboard, your OBS, your whatever else, and like one button and you have like a second window open where the chat's going to be. Like it literally does every single last thing for you. So I'm very excited to do all that kind of stuff.
Nice. You're going to go for it and do it. I'm excited.
Yeah. And I ended up using my Amazon gift card on completely, I guess, functional items. So like nothing exciting. Like I got a collapsible shovel for my car.
You ended up getting the shovel. Nice. That's a good buy, especially when we get our random snowstorms.
Yes, exactly. I think I got a little bike pump, and I got a power bank
Also,
for my phone. Yeah, like just
oh,
basic
nice,
stuff like that.
nice, nice,
Yeah, so that's all in the mail now. So yeah,
beautiful.
that's kind of. So we are going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, but before we do that, we have our usual stuff to get to. So, this week in gaming, what's going on with you, David, and what's going on in the news?
So the news this next week or so and the last week has been a little bit dry. There's not too much from at least my perspective. I couldn't really find too much. There's like some DLCs for random games, but there's nothing really that caught my eye that's been popping up. But in terms of like my week personally, I've just been playing FF7 Remake. I know that's not your favorite, but I've been playing it on my Steam Deck, and I'm actually liking it even more in my second playthrough.
Mm.
Um, and
I have a
then
love hate
also,
relationship with FF7 remake. If we can touch on that for a second, like
yeah, sure.
I get so into it, and I like go on about how much I love certain aspects of it, like the combat, and even though I think the menu for the materia, like when you go into like an upgrading weapons and stuff, or not materia, sorry, when you upgrade the weapons and it like zooms into this weird like crystal thing, like
It's
it looks
clunky
so dumb. It looks
and it's
so dumb, and
clunky and
there's
it
doesn't
takes
make any
more time
sense.
to do than it needs.
What are these circles and these crystals? Why are they even in existence? But I love that system. I love how you can customize weapons. And if it was just this like list thing, then that would be great. Anyway, so I all these things I enjoy. I enjoy the music and stuff. And then uh, I just never go back and finish it.
You
Like
haven't
for
finished it,
whatever
yeah?
reason, I still haven't finished it. It just doesn't pull me back in. Like there's so many games like Triangle Strategy where I have some gripes with it, but at the end of the day, I'm itching to go and play some more. And with the remake, for some reason, it just can't pull me back in. I mean, there are some reasons, but we're not going to go fully into those. We're not going to do
No, we can talk about it another day.
it.
But I am digging it. And it's nice to play on a PC because I've got some mods on it as
Right.
well. Just so I got like Cloud, I got him the Advent Children skin,
Nice.
like his costume. And then I got Tifa and Aerith, these a little inappropriate, but like schoolgirl uniforms.
Yeah.
But like from Dead or
Of course.
Alive, like the fighting game. So they
Right.
looks kind of cool. And
Is that easy to
then
do on the Steam Deck?
just
Get
literally
a
copy
mod?
and paste the files into the folder. It depends on the game. Not every game is that easy to mod, but if it's like
Right.
a this game specifically, it's just download the file and put it in a specific folder.
Do you
Um,
hear that? Within minutes, you can have your females in schoolgirl outfits
you can do a much
or
more
something
if
less creepy.
or even way there's some creepy mods, man. There's some very creepy mods. Oh, and then I got because in the PC version and then the PS5 version too, they have like the interlude where it's like after FF7 remake, it's got Yuffie.
Right.
Um, and I haven't gotten to her part yet, but I got her this cool costume. She looks like like how the ninjas in Mortal Kombat are dressed, like Sub Zero and Scorpion,
Right.
like their style, like gi or whatever. I got her in like one of
That's
those,
cool.
but like a green one. Looks pretty sick.
You like I assume this already exists, right? But something where Red 13 is just other animals. Like
That'd
he's
be
like a
cool,
freaking
actually.
cow. He's a cow or something, and he's running
I
around as
have
a
not
cow.
actually seen that, but that should be like the number one on the list.
That's going to be top priority for all modders out there. If you're listening, we
Yeah,
need cow 13.
Cow
What
13
other
would be
animals
great. Goat,
would you like to see? Goat
Goat
13.
13, Goat
Yeah.
13.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd like a Camel 13 actually.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, I just want a mod that turns Cloud into the Ruby weapon, and then every button wins the game.
Yeah,
So it's not a
yeah.
big deal. It's just not a big deal. But if they could do that for me.
Moving on. And then the other thing I played was I haven't played this game in like a year, but I got a Game Pass update that it was leaving Game Pass in a week.
Mm.
It was Scarlet Nexus. I don't know if you've heard of that one. It's like an
No.
anime action JRPG, like very similar to like Tales, like the Tales of Arise kind of. Um, Made by Bandai. It was pretty good. It was
I'm looking at images
released.
of it now.
Yeah, graphics are great. Combat is great.
Oh
There's
yeah,
lots of
this
like
looks really good.
Yeah, and it's got really good colors. So in things like Demon Slayer, where they've got like the effects going with like the really bright blues and reds and purples and stuff, they've got the same kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Story is only like so, but it only takes like 20 hours to beat, and it's not too bad. But yeah, I only played it for another 2 hours. I didn't realize how close to the end of the game I was. I was just like two chapters from the end. So I blew through that, got another
Nice,
game off my list, and I think actually this year I finished 12 games
man.
in one
That's
year,
pretty good. That's pretty good. I've
right?
done the same thing, but with books. I've read a lot of books this year.
Oh, nice. I've only read one book. It was a Star Wars book.
Oh, wait, which one did you read?
The Darth Bane book one.
Oh, nice. Okay, it's on my list. I haven't read that yet.
It's
I have a lot
actually
of Star Wars books that
yeah,
I'm hoping to get.
the Darth Bane book was excellent. I really, really enjoyed it. It was really good.
Nice.
Um, it's like the nice mix of like dark and edgy. It's really cool to see how there's this. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's not like a over the top evil guy turning to the dark side, and it's not as like flips the switch kind of like Anakin. You know how he's very nice when he's a kid, but he has like these moments where he's just kind of insane a little bit. This one is just a grind. I don't
Are
know how
there
else to
like?
put it.
Would you say Palpatine is over the top evil, or like? Because he's very, layered early on. I guess later on he just becomes over the top
So
evil.
he's very. So I actually think Palpatine is like one of the coolest characters in fiction. I think
Yeah,
he's one of the best
until he
ever
returns.
characters.
Right.
But especially by the end of it, when he's the Emperor, he's just like so over the top. Like once he succeeds as like
I don't
taking
think
over the
there's like
Senate,
right.
like
I
when he
don't think
starts
there's too
cackling and
many.
just lightning.
Yeah. But there aren't like any like cheesy evil Star Wars villains. I think there should be. They should actually go. They should have some being, and it's just like I will control all the lightsabers, and he's like taking people's. Oh my god, my mic.
Well, if you watch the Kenobi show, like some of them are kind of cringy.
Yeah, the I can't remember which
The,
brother it is, but he's pretty bad. Okay,
yeah.
cool. So, anything else? Anything else going on with you?
Not really. Oh, I bought all the parts for my new computer.
Oh,
Uh,
nice. Are you
yeah,
putting it together by yourself?
yeah. Well, I'm gonna go up and have a couple friends help me put it together,
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, they helped me pick everything out. It's wasn't cheap. I didn't like. I wouldn't say I splurged on anything, but I finally like didn't hold back on anything. Like if there was an
Right,
option
because
of paying
parts are
like an
just
extra
expensive
50
right now.
bucks or $100 or something just to really take it to the next level and not like have to regret it. And then I got RGB
Mhm.
everything.
Awesome.
Like my
Okay, well, we're
room's
gonna
gonna
see
turn into a
pics of that or something
yeah, it's
later
gonna
on.
turn into a nightclub. But yeah, that's it for me. What about gaming stuff your end?
Well, so I got. Let me see. I got my notebook here on
Oh
camera.
shoot, that's a really nice notebook.
So yes, I got it for my wife for Christmas actually. So
Oh, nice
it's
wife. He
pretty
has a
pretty
nice wife.
sweet. That's right,
Sub
I
for his
do.
wife.
So nothing like really new with me, except I would say that. So I'm on Christmas break right now. I've got 4 more days of vacation
Okay,
before I go
nice.
back to teaching. Kids get winter break off, and
Are you back
over
on
this
Monday
break,
or?
I'm back on Tuesday because Monday's a day in lieu for the New Year's. So I've like kind of rediscovered my interest in like going harder into like gacha games like War of the Visions and like Final Fantasy Brave Exvius and stuff, like actually spending more time theory crafting with all these different like units you get, and it's
Okay.
been really nice. I've been like connecting more with my guild on Discord and like with my Discord on for Miss Cydia Gaming in general, and it's just been really nice. It kind of shows how time is so important, like free time, because when I'm busy at school and I'm coaching and all this other stuff, like you just don't have time for things, and
Yeah,
you can think like, oh, am I kind of like falling out with this game a bit? And it's probably not even that. It's just that you just don't have time to fully enjoy it. So,
that's very
makes me
true.
very grateful for my career that I can have these 2 weeks off. So I just thought I'd kind of
Nice
mention
man.
that. I'm also getting more energy for my content creation as well. So that's
Oh, beauty.
been nice. So, you know,
Hopefully this invigorates you a little bit too.
yes. Well, I always love chatting with you, David, always. And I
No,
actually do have a
no.
question for you about,
Oh,
not well, this is related to gaming. We're kind of gaming and popular media too that we enjoy. And so terrific video game, The Witcher, also has many many growing Netflix shows, and the
Oh,
newest one came out on Christmas, The Witcher Blood Origin. And now I haven't actually seen it yet because I was kind of
oh.
waiting, and all I hear is just terrible, terrible things. Have you watched it?
So I watched the first like 20 or 30 minutes of the first episode, and I have never. Okay, first of all, I have to preface I'm Polish. I love The Witcher.
Right.
I played The Witcher 1. I actually watched, there was a old Polish TV show um, for The Witcher that was super, like, they used like socks. It was so poor. Like, they used like
Oh,
socks
I've
for
heard about
monsters.
this.
Yeah,
I've heard
and
about this.
he
It's so
has like a
funny. Yeah, yeah.
katana. It's just like it's a like the main actor who plays him is like a very famous Polish actor. He's in a lot of like period pieces, at least back in like the early 2000s. And he's still like a decently big name. I watched that. I played The Witcher 1 when it first came out. Even today it's considered like impossible to play, just how like
Yeah, it did
clunky it
not age
is.
well.
But I played it when it was like first new on my crappy little laptop. If my dad's listening, thank you. It was a great laptop. But just like barely running at like 5 frames per second. I grinded through that. I played every Witcher game. I haven't read all the books, but I've read the first 3 books. So I'm like a decent fan. I was a little offended when the president of Poland gave Obama The Witcher and he didn't play it. It was a little bit offensive on my end. That's a real thing. You can look it up. And yeah, I just feel like they're doing a terrible disservice to my people.
Yeah.
Uh, like spitting on the graves of the last 1,000 years for the freedoms we've been fighting for.
Oh, I don't know.
Um,
Okay, you're getting away from it now.
no, but it's just like really crappy. It's like it's hard to watch.
Yeah.
They just like I admire that they wanted to do like a prequel because like that time period seems really cool. It's like 1,000 years before the events of the
Hmm.
show, like when all the monsters and magic first appear in the world. But it's just so cringy. Acting is not good. Just like nothing is good about it.
Yeah, I've heard the writing's not great, and that's kind of like it's like what's happening with Star Wars, where you know a lot of stories are just being handed off to various people, but it's not necessarily always the best people to take care of a franchise that has a lot of history. So
Yeah,
I guess I'll have to watch for myself and see what I think. But
yeah,
I'm a little bit. Uh, I'm not encouraged to watch it at this point right now.
yeah.
So
Which is odd because I don't know if you watched the anime that they made a year or
I
so
did.
ago, the
I
one
didn't
starring
hate it.
Vesemir. I thought it was not
It was
bad.
too flat. It was too flashy. Like it was way too over the top.
It was very
But
anime. It was very
but I
anime.
enjoyed it. Like I
Yeah,
enjoyed it, and I would watch it again. But
yeah.
yeah, no, it definitely was. It was
Um,
like I just think like yeah, it could be animated, but it doesn't need to be so anime because it's still The Witcher. But
it's still The Witcher.
they
Yeah,
did what they did.
yeah.
Yeah,
But I
cool.
prefer that
So
one over this for sure.
yes, yeah, I can imagine because like I said, I'll still watch that. But okay, so should we get on to our main topic for today?
Let's do it. D&D DMing.
Cool. Yeah, so David and I play D&D together, and I've DM'd before, and David's DM'd, and my brother's DM'd, and we've kind of shared the duty around, and we've started a few campaigns, one by me, one by my brother, a lot of one shots, and we just got out of a huge lull where we just didn't play at all, and like when we played the most, it was during COVID, but
Yeah,
basically, I mean recently David he's kind of taken over to do a short campaign, and he had some ideas to help us get started and get some momentum and actually stick with it. And we thought we'd talk about that today. So, like, how do you get a campaign going? How do you keep it going? How can you make it work for people with a busy lifestyle, people that are adults and they're doing adult things and they don't have time necessarily every single week for sure to play D&D. So,
yeah,
we're going to rattle off a few topics here and kind of give some advice. And if you have good ideas, you can let us know in the comments on
yeah. Please
the
do.
video version. But
We'll take anything
yeah,
because we've been dying to play more. So any recommendations are very
I mean, we
welcome.
finally had a date set. Everyone could make it, and then myself, and my brother were sick sick as dogs on the couch on our couches, just unable to play. So we ended up having to pivot, and that's one of the things that we'll talk about today
Yeah.
is what you guys did, which was run a one shot. But
Yeah.
Dave, why don't you take it away? What's our first tip for kind of getting a D&D group going and keeping it going through adversity?
Yeah, so I would say number one would be to kind of like temper your expectations a little bit, not in terms of, how your game itself is going to go, but more so in the sense that, when you get excited, when you start DMing, when you first kind of agree to play D&D, in your heart, you kind of want to play like every week, right? But when you're in your, late 20s, then you're into your 30s and then 40s and whatever, everybody's got a random career. You're a teacher, so you're a little bit more 9 to 5 ish, but also you do coaching. So some nights you're
Mm-hmm.
working late. Your brother's on call as a plumber, never know when he's going to have to work or not. One of our friends is a vet, so he also works random, like, healthcare hours, sometimes just
Yeah.
night shifts. I'm
Well,
also a
you
nurse,
too.
so I
Yeah.
work, you know, I never have the same week 2 weeks in a row. It's always like kind of shifted. So it's hard to really recommend that you try and set like a very specific, okay, let's do this every week, because then you're just going to be very disappointed. It's better off to maybe do like once every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. And the most important thing is just try to be consistent. And, if you lower your, not lower your expectations, but if you temper them in the sense that, people have busy lives, and if you can only do 1 or 2 sessions a month, then that's not a, pitfall. It doesn't mean your group is bad. It
It's not
doesn't
a
mean that
deal
your grad
breaker. Yeah.
is, yeah. Um,
Yeah, and to add on to that, if I may,
yeah,
I would say you have to find out your group's expectations as well. So this is going to require some sort of leadership from someone in the group. It doesn't have to be the DM, but someone has to get everyone together and kind of say, like, what are we looking for? Are we looking for, uh, you know, looking to play every week, every second week? Are we? What do we want to do? Like a deal where we're bringing snacks or beverages or something? Are we thinking, like we want to get at least 2 hours in? Like, just make sure that you don't end up with a group that has one person that says, like, well, we're going to play 3 hours per week, and then another person that's on the other side of that spectrum, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, we're not going to meet, and someone's going to be disappointed. You
yeah,
have to figure out what everybody wants first and find a happy medium.
yeah. And then I guess this kind of leads us to kind of tip number two.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say it's tip 2A, because I have like a tip 2B kind of connected to it. But that is kind of like exactly what Alex said. So we had a scheduled date 2 weeks ago or so, whatever it was. Then two of them couldn't make it. Two of you guys couldn't make it. So we ended up doing a one shot. One of our other friends in the group has never DM'd, or maybe he's only DM'd once or twice. He was really excited to try. And so he made like a really quick one shot, because I didn't have anything prepared. Yeah. And we've actually been
Right.
doing one shots a lot. I don't know what's your take on the one shots. I feel like they usually land pretty well.
I think they're really good. And so what you get from a one shot is you're keeping people, you're keeping the D&D meetings happening. So that way you stay engaged, and it doesn't take, like, if you miss it for long enough, then you might just disconnect from the group. So, like, it's definitely worth meeting. It's like when you're injured. This, I don't know if anyone's going to relate to this, but if you're injured and you can't do your full workout at the gym, you should still keep going to the gym and ride the bike or do what you can do,
Yeah.
because you're still building a routine and you're still connecting to what you're trying to do. So same thing with this. Like, if you're trying to meet with a group, like, you should be meeting regardless. Even if maybe you meet and you play Mario Kart or Smash
Yeah.
Brothers or something, and
Yeah.
you're
Very
still
smart.
meeting as a group, like, that's going to be really important. Um, the other thing is that there are so many free one shots online. So I know I've done some Winghorn Press ones, like the Wild Sheep Chase and the Wolves of Welton. I've done both of those with you guys, and those are
Yeah.
like really high quality. They look like official D&D licensed products, but they're free, and they also sell some more one shots as well. So those are some options as well.
And those were both like excellent. I really enjoyed both of those.
Yeah, there's also, if you can search on Google, One Page Adventures by Tyler Monahan, and this is 60 one-page adventures, but they're actually more detailed than you might think. You'll have to do some improv and maybe like print out some stat blocks or something, or write them down ahead of time. But it is I use these one page adventures. I use them with my students all the time in our tabletop club, and it's been pretty successful. They're even if you're just planning your own campaign, you could use these one page adventures to start planning some of your campaign. So that's
Yeah,
by Tyler Monahan. It's free of charge. It's just on Google. You can find it. So
yeah, those
yeah.
are great. And then the other one I would say is, for
But wait,
example,
before we go to
oh, sorry.
the next one, I do have a few more notes. You
Yeah,
know,
you
if
can
I,
have as
yeah.
many notes as you'd like.
Well, so the one thing I guess it's not actually. Sorry, I don't have notes. I have questions for you,
Okay.
Dave. What do you
Yes,
think
if that is my real name.
about characters for one shots? Should you be using your campaign's characters? Should you be making new characters? Should
Um,
you? Yeah.
so I think, okay, so me personally, I'm a pretty slack DM. Sometimes it feels like I'm making up the rules as I go. That's not actually the case, but I'm very slack. Like, I don't mind if people want to carry their characters over. It's really because it's your character, right? Everybody has their own group dynamics, and some people are very like strict with, okay, these are our characters. This is the very tight knit story. I don't want to have anything affecting this. So if we ever do one shots, let's make separate characters. But at the same time, like, if you have a one shot all of a sudden, like for example, this last one shot that we had, um, it was kind of like last minute that it turned into a one shot. Everybody had already prepared their new characters for the campaign that will be starting. So a couple of us just ended up reusing characters from a previous campaign. So I used
Mm-hmm.
my like my Dino Cop, Lizard Folk guy. Your other brother used Delita again, like the
Right.
druid. Tim just made a toast, like a sandwich character. It's like a
Yeah.
halfling monk that was tel- magically turned into a sandwich. It was very odd.
Right. So it's a chance to do some fun stuff like that,
It,
because I think it's worth bringing up. Like if you're going to bring up this idea to your group and you're going to say, hey, let's do some one shots, like, again, people are busy, so they might not want to create a whole new character, so they could use their character, like say this is non-canon. If your character dies in the one shot, it doesn't affect them otherwhere, in other places. You could use a pre-gen character, so you go to
yeah,
fastcharacters.com and you could just punch in level 5, I want to be a mage, boom, it's going to do
yeah,
it for you. There's a lot of good options. Like you don't have to be limited to just creating a new character every single time from scratch, or like just make sure, again, it's something that you talk about with your group, because
yeah.
I think people can get kind of like attached to characters and stuff, and like this is such a good time to break that up.
Yeah, and then actually I have two little, I guess, segues from what you just mentioned. Um, Another good thing with the one shots, if you make a new character, even if you just pre-gen it, it gives you a chance to, um, at least when we do our one shots, usually we do like not high level characters, but like level 5, level 6, once they've kind of unlocked a few of their skills. And it just gives you
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a free way to just kind of dabble your feet and see, oh, would I actually like this class? Because a lot of the times at level 1, it kind of sucks to be level 1. Like the whole point of
Yeah.
starting at level 1 is if you're doing a campaign and just seeing that progression, right? It's fun to start at level 1 and then get to like level 10 or 20 or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if you're just doing one time, it's fun just to be a little bit more powerful, have extra skills. Because like being a level 1 fighter, it kind of sucks. You just attack once and like that's all you get. But at level 5 or level 6, you can multi attacks. You get some of your class skills, right? If you're a sorcerer, you get more magic that you can use. If you're a monk, like shadow monk, you can like teleport between shadows, like all this like little fun stuff that you can do. It does make it so if you don't pre-gen the character, it can be a little overwhelming if it's like a new player. So that's like, I guess, a downside of that.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And then
some players get super into character creation. Like I know
yeah,
some people absolutely will love to make a character every week if they could, because it's so much fun for them. But
yeah,
while I feel that when I'm starting a campaign, I do not feel that way for one shots. I use fastcharacter.com
yeah,
because I am just not willing to do all that work
yeah.
for every single one shot.
I use the fast character too, and I just reskin it to like
Mm-hmm.
match my like
Yeah,
archetype
exactly.
that I'm
Make some
kind of going
adjustments and
for.
stuff.
And then I guess the other little point. I know now the segment's going longer than we thought of this like one point, but another thing I would say about doing one shots every now and then is it kind of untethers you from being afraid of losing your character.
Right.
Because sometimes as a DM, the player character legitimately dies, but it's up to you to decide, like, okay, does this fit within how I'm trying to play it? Do I want to be completely by the book? Okay, you missed. You see all my rolls that I do. Okay, your character's dead. Like, bye bye. Go roll a new one or go home or something, right? But if you have a one shot, if your character dies or something like that, or even just the act of making a new character, I think that just like opens up your mind that there's more characters. If this one dies, it's sad, especially if you're like had him for a bunch of sessions or something like that. But I mean, that's also part of the exhilarating part of D&D is like I might die in this dungeon.
Hmm.
Like it's
It's
so
not.
hard to
Yeah. There's no
survive.
guarantees.
So I
Yeah, I
think that's
agree.
another aspect. However, I will say, um, had we already been mid campaign, like let's say this wasn't session one that we were missing 2 weeks ago. Let's say it was session three. Depending on how many, if it was two missing, I don't know, but I feel like another thing you can do is instead of one shots, what you can do is set up your campaign in a way or be creative, be able to improvise so that if a player character is missing, um, you can work that into the story. So, like for example, if your character and your brother's character were not able to make it, we could say like, oh, maybe like if they were in town, maybe they just were too tired. Maybe they got sick in the game. Maybe they're just sick and they can't get out of the bed or something
Hmm.
like that. Or
Yeah.
maybe another one I wrote down in our little notes is you are walking down an alley or down the street. Your character stops to pee in the alleyway. And this actually happened once to me when I was in Germany. I was with my friends. I went to go pee. They kept walking. I guess they didn't hear me that I'm going to pee. 30 seconds later, I look, everyone's gone. I'm lost in Germany.
That's kind of a silly reason to lose your character, but
But
it's
like
valid. Yeah.
whatever, and then
Yeah.
that way you can kind of continue the story because again, like we were mentioning earlier, consistency is key. And if you know that you're only going to make it to like one or two sessions a month, if you miss like the second session and it's 30 days until the next session, sometimes you can lose a little bit of that like momentum and connection
Yeah.
to the characters, to the story. You'll be like, oh, what's happening again? Then you have to spend time, you know, recapping everything.
Now, this can be difficult depending on how narrative driven your campaign is. So,
Yeah.
this won't work for all campaigns. I used to do this with a campaign that I was in, and one cool thing that we did was every single session, the DM would pick a different player to summarize the last session, and that meant people were
Nice.
paying attention. They had to take notes. They had to be able to summarize what they did, and if you don't have a player that wants to do that, the DM could do that. And the benefit of that is that the players that missed the session can kind of get caught up on what happened in kind of a nice way at the table. And
Yep.
I think, you know, that's really important because you need total player buy-in for this, right?
Yeah.
Like you can cause
100%.
tension in a group if someone feels left behind or,
Yeah.
forgotten.
100%. And if you do have players that are missing, and like let's say everybody else levels up because they just did like a dungeon, it is, every group's a little bit different. Maybe some people don't mind being like a level behind or something like that, but maybe come up, talk to those players behind the scenes and say like, oh, okay, maybe your character had a little side adventure. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and you can maybe even
Maybe
do
when
some
they
rolling.
went
Okay.
maybe when they went to go pee in the alleyway, they were surrounded by thugs and they had a full encounter in the alleyway with their
Yeah.
pants down. And now they're leveled up.
Yeah. Waving
Yeah,
their
the
wand.
most important thing I would say is that if you do this approach, do not decide anything for a player that is not there. Don't say that they died. Don't say that they made a story decision because they weren't there. Like, you can't do that. You need to talk to them. You could consult them about it and say, "Can I do something with your character?" But do not make decisions for people that are not there. It's a really
Don't take their
easy
agency.
way to screw up your group.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I'm glad you brought that up.
Bonjour, and welcome back to the Bring Two Controllers podcast. You might be noticing that I am wearing a hoodie and that Dave is wearing a hoodie and that I got a haircut. How could this be? Well, we had some issues with our software, didn't we, Dave?
Yeah, we had a beautiful end to our podcast. It couldn't have been any better. We click end. we wait for our software to upload, and the whole last like 10 minutes, 10 15 minutes got corrupted. So we're going to do our best to try and retread what we kind of talked on. We don't have much left to talk about, just a couple topics, but we'll just kind of pick up from where we left off. So sorry for a little bit of a jarring switch.
Hmm. And so what's kind of funny is that we started recording this episode last year, and then now it's a whole nother year and we're finishing. So, what are you
Yeah.
going to do about it? So the topic that we were going to talk about next, and we actually did talk about already, but you'll never know, is switching
Yeah.
to online format for D&D. So doing something like Discord or Roll20 or a combination of the two.
Yeah.
Dave, you also mentioned Fantasy Grounds.
Yes. So Fantasy Grounds is the one that I personally like because there's no, I mean, you can do a prescription or not prescription, subscription. Too much nursing for me. Too many prescriptions. But you can do like a one-time payment, which covers everything. And it's nice because it runs off Steam, so it's like almost like a game program, but you can either upload all your own images if you get something like Dungeon Painter Studio or even like a Microsoft Paint, you can make your own maps and all that, or like for example, we're doing privately on our own, we're doing Curse of Strahd campaign, but you can actually just buy the books and everything like that straight into Fantasy Grounds, so that all the material, all the maps, all the monsters, everything is already there for you. So I actually got that during COVID for my other group. It was just kind of like a nice, easy way to get everybody started. It like includes character sheets and everything like that. And then we have another one, Roll20, that our other friend actually used when we played last time. Actually, you weren't there that time. That's the time you missed. But it works
Mhm.
basically the same way. It's just it's instead of program based, it's browser based, and it runs really well. I don't know if you've used it before.
I've dabbled with it. So I looked at setting some stuff up on there, and they have a lot of like I guess free provided resources you can use, like things to create grid maps and battle scenes and stuff. And then there's lots of paid things too. So it's definitely it's definitely a good way to do it. And it has a lot of good reviews online. A lot of people will talk about how they use it. When we played during the pandemic, or, the height of it, when we were in lockdown, we use Discord, and so I DM'd a little bit. My brother DM'd a little bit, but it was all in our mind, right? Like we did everything via descriptions, and we used Discord. Actually, has the roll functions in the chat, so
Yeah,
you would type in like roll a d6, and it would roll a d6, and that worked pretty well. But I definitely think that you want to keep people engaged when you're not actually at a table together. So the two other methods that you mentioned are probably your best bet, as long as it's
yeah.
not too big a barrier for you to get into it.
Yeah, and I guess other nice thing with Discord is you can, plop images right into the chat. So if there's like a monster that you've never heard of or something like that, you can just throw that into the chat. Or if you want to set a scene, there's also on Discord the Groove bot or Music bot or whatever. I think you were mentioning before that it got discontinued. So maybe there's another one you can use, but you have an app that you like that you can like tether sound, like audio through. What's it called? The voice meter.
Yeah, there's multiple ways to do it, but the Groovebot was awesome because you basically just fed it a YouTube link and it would
Yeah.
play that music for everybody in the channel. It just stopped working at a certain point, so maybe that's a thing. I don't know. But anything else that we should mention for the online players out there?
Yeah. Well, I would also say with Discord, you can also use the screen share as well. So like if you don't want to get like Roll20 or something like that, you can just download a map or make one, draw one up in Microsoft Paint, and just share the map, and people can just use it that way. I think it's pretty easy thing. But like I was kind of talking about before, since we are like older, sometimes it's harder to um, come up with things on the spot, or not so much on the spot, but like having to create campaigns is not as realistic because we don't have as much time, which is
Hmm.
one of the reasons we started the Curse of Strahd campaign, is because both of us kind of wanted to do a campaign. Jack, your brother wanted to do a campaign, but none of us have really the time or resources right now to create this fully fleshed out world. So I think that just kind of like leads me into the next kind of topic of just not having to reinvent the wheel. use the resources that are available to you. There's lots of like free dungeons you can download, like lots of websites with modules, like one-shot adventures. Um, I keep mentioning the Curse of Strahd campaign, but there's tons of other campaigns that people have made, or the official ones as well. You can usually even get them on sale during, whatever events for between 20 and $40. Or if you know how to sail the seven seas, you can figure it out that way as well. And then it just saves you a ton of time. All you have to do is like read the chapter that if you're DMing, all you have to do is read the chapter. You can still get into it, like you still have that fun. So you can find the music that you want to use. You can add
Hmm.
the flavor and the spices that you want to add to make it more fun. You can create your own characters, but at least the framework is there, so you don't have to make everything up, and it just makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, and so since we recorded the first half of this podcast, we actually played D&D together, which is pretty
Yeah.
funny. And you ran the first session of the Curse of Strahd, but
Yeah.
you added in some of your own unique flares into that. I think your sausage vendor character was pretty awesome.
Oh, thank
And
you. You knew that
yeah,
was unique.
yeah, well, if it was part of the book, I'd be pretty surprised and also impressed. But I know it seemed very much a David character when the
Yeah.
sausage vendor gave us all magical sausage that raised our maximum health for the
Yeah.
party. So that was pretty
That's
cool.
pretty sweet.
Uh, Another thing that I won't go into full depth about it, but there's the play style called the West Marches campaign, and so the way that it works, it's basically you can have any size group. You could have 20 players, but you just basically you're in some sort of frontier town or undiscovered island or whatever it is, and everybody, it's an open sandbox campaign where anybody can DM. They see who's available, they say, okay, we're going to play on Monday night, and the four people that can come, those are the adventurers from the Adventurers Guild that take that mission. They see that bulletin, and then they go out and they play a session, and there's no overarching story. There's just this town that you're working for. Maybe you're developing resources in it, maybe you're exploring
Yeah.
the wilderness beyond it, but it's a pretty cool way to not be tied to a very specific group or story.
Yeah, totally. Um, And then I also think, yeah, I actually couldn't agree more. That's a really like a fun campaign style. I think your other group was doing that before. I think you mentioned to me before.
Yeah, they were doing that for I think about a year. Like it was a pretty impressive thing. Every single Sunday, a message would go out, and every week a combination of like 10. Like there'd be 10 people total. Like 5 people would say, "Oh, I can make it this week," and then boom, they had a session. They got to play D&D, and it really worked for the people that have busy lives or were going out of town on vacation or whatever else they had.
Yeah, and it is like actually pretty fun to even just have a hub world that you can customize and build up.
Hmm.
It just kind of anchors everything pretty well. And then I guess our final little point, to kind of get people to stay consistent, everything like that, is to focus on what your players and your group of friends like to do the most. So whether it's more the role playing aspect, if it's more combat oriented, if it's more dungeon crawling, more puzzles solving, or anything like that, or an even spread of those, it's good to have a conversation with your friends and or whatever your group mates to see what everybody's kind of into. And yeah, you can just kind of, maybe have like a session where you focus a little bit more on this, or maybe you can have a side session for a few of, the characters that like to do more X or Y crafting. Maybe somebody
Hmm.
wants to craft things, but they don't want to take up 25 minutes of everybody else's time to make like potions and stuff like that. Not that it's not a legitimate style of play, but if you've only got 2 hours every 2 weeks or something like that, you have to be a little bit more time cognizant. So
Yeah, so just working with your DM, or if you're the DM, then really thinking about your players, what they enjoy, and then making the most of that time. Because the more fun that your players are having, the more easily you're going to be able to get everyone together. The more free they will suddenly become,
yeah,
if it really is
they'll
that
make
much fun, they
time.
can't stop. Yeah,
They'll
exactly. They'll
they'll
make
make
time
they'll
for it.
make time for it, and they'll do whatever they can to get in.
And
Um,
I have to say, Dave, that you ran such a great first session the other night that I don't think you're going to have as much trouble, getting the group together. It's going to be great.
yeah, I was actually surprised. Your older brother gave me a high five. I was not expecting that. Like as soon as I called it, he just gave me this big high five. I was like, oh. Made me
Yeah,
feel. I
that's
got
a
the
that's
warm
a big sign
tinglies.
of
I got the
respect right there.
tinglies. I got the
Yeah,
tinglies.
it's a big deal. You could
Yeah,
you could die today a fulfilled man.
yeah. I've done everything I needed to in life. Although there's a couple monsters that I want you still to fight, so I have to
So
survive at
better
least
hang on
one
for
more
a
week.
little bit longer. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
you
fine.
take me to the
One, two,
ICU, okay?
two tops, man.
Two tops, 2 more days.
All right. Well, I
um,
think we're gonna wrap it up there, right?
yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. I hope we didn't retread too much from portion one, but I think we covered everything that we kind of ended up losing in the corrupted phase.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm
yeah,
gonna make
thanks
sure
for
that we don't
everybody.
retread anything using the magic of editing, right? So
Oh, you're quite good at that. You've got years of
yeah,
experience.
that's
All right,
right. Oh,
guys.
it's
Well,
kind of weird to think that I do actually have years of experience. Like
well, you
that
know what?
sounds like a joke, but it's weirdly true.
It's not weirdly true. It's just very true. And then I guess the other thing is in our last outro, we said, happy holidays, have a good next year. But I
Right.
guess we just got to say, I hope this year is good moving
Yeah, I
forward.
hope this year goes well for you all. And I hope you had a good
Yeah,
New Year's. I had a pretty chill New Year's, but yeah. Yeah.
I was
Well, we'll get
working.
into that next podcast, I guess, or well, I
Yes,
don't know. We'll figure it
yes.
out.
All
Thank
right,
you
you
for
guys.
listening, everyone.
Yeah, see you later, Alex.
Bye bye.